is on China air pollution. In recent decades, China has become a major powerhouse, having the second largest GDP in the world after the United States in 2014, according to the World Bank. In order to sustain its rapid economic growth, China's producers have become increasingly reliant on the use of coal, a cheap and abundant energy source. In fact, about 70% of all energy consumed in China is produced using coal. However, the burning of coal releases large amounts of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide gas into the surrounding atmosphere. China's dependence on coal correlates to the observed increase in the total amount of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide China emits each year. For example, in 1980, China emitted about 1.4 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide, whereas 30 years later, in 2010, that number increased to 8 billion. From 2000 to 2006, the total sulfur dioxide emissions in China increased by 53% at an annual growth of 7.3%. Such a large amount of these gases in the atmosphere causes air pollution. Here's reporter Rosa live from Beijing with more on this information. Hello, Rosa.
Rosa, here live in Beijing. Look at all this smog. I'm here with local resident environmentalist Karen Chimpen McLeod. Now, Karen, according to the Environmental Protection Agency, air pollution occurs when the air contains gases, dust, fumes, or odor in harmful amounts. There have been studies that linked China's high levels of air pollution to premature mortality and diseases such as lung cancer. What can you share with us regarding these devastating health concerns?
Thank you for having me. High levels of air pollution in China have indeed had this effect. In the area of infant mortality rates, a study by the National Resources Defense Council found that there was a higher rate of infant mortality from sudden infant death syndrome at times of elevated particulate air pollution.
How many people have been affected by this?
It has been reported that over 250,000 people in some of China's major cities could face premature deaths because of high levels of air pollution. And in the 31 provincial capitals, on average 90 out of every 100,000 people could die prematurely every year as a result of high levels of fine particulates in the air. The findings mean that 1 out of every 7 deaths in the cities is due to air pollution.
How are all these deaths occurring?
Exposure to high levels of toxins in the air are known to cause respiratory inflammation, asthma, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Air pollution is also a harmful carcinogen which can cause lung cancer. Not surprisingly, lung cancer is the most commonly diagnosed cancer and is the leading cause of cancer-related deaths in China. Cases of lung cancer are even more prevalent in urban areas. For example, non-smoking women in an area of China's Yunnan province die of lung cancer at a rate of 20 times that of their counterparts in other regions of the country.
Wow, those numbers are astonishing. Thank you so much, Karen, for taking the time to speak with me today.
It's been my pleasure.
As you can see, China's President Xi Jinping has a lot of work on his hands as far as improving the health of China's citizens. Back to you, Ciera.
Thank you, Rosa. Now I have with me Margaret, an expert on air pollution control, with her thoughts on some solutions to this crisis. Hello, Margaret.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What can China do to reverse the negative effects of air pollution?
Well, there's a lot of things that China could do. One could be to reduce carbon emissions by subsidizing the shift from the use of coal and other fossil fuels to greener forms of energy such as nuclear or solar power, especially in factories.
Okay. Would it investing in these new technologies be very costly to, let's say, Chinese government?
Well, it could be very costly. However, they could always implement it on a smaller scale. For instance, in trucks. Trucks are actually a huge emitter of carbon dioxide. And so if Chinese companies invest in greener technologies for their vehicles, that could greatly reduce their carbon footprint. In fact, one company, actually GEOG Logistics, has installed eco-friendly driving devices in their cars, so it monitors how much gas they use, how fast they're going, and that helps drivers shift their behavior, like the way they drive, so they can reduce their carbon emissions in their vehicles.
Okay. What other approaches can the Chinese government take?
Well, a really easy one would just be subsidized public transportation vouchers. So with less cars on the road and more people taking things like buses and trains, that reduces the amount of pollution that cars cause every year, which is a lot.
Okay. Thank you for that information, Margaret. But Why should the people in the United States care about this problem?
Well, I mean, aside from a humanitarian standpoint, just the amount of people dying and harmed by these high levels of air pollution actually comes over and affects the U.S. directly. So when there's a lot of smog in China, winds blow it over onto the West Coast. So I think people in California and Seattle, they actually are affected by air pollution too. And so what happens, the U.S. has all these green energy initiatives and trying to reduce their own carbon footprint. Those efforts are being wasted because China's air pollution is actually coming over to our atmosphere too.
Okay. Well, what can the U.S. do to help?
Well, one policy that's already in place is the U.S. Climate Change Agreement. In 2014, President Obama announced a new target to reduce carbon emissions by 26 to 28% by 2025. Also at the same time, President Xi Jinping of China announced they also want to target their carbon emissions and reduce them by the year 2030. Another effort would be to invest in organizations that are trying to reduce this problem, like the U.S.-China Clean Energy Research Center. Funds that go to this organization go to investing in something called carbon capture technology. And so basically what carbon capture technology is, when carbon is produced in production, they separate it from other gases and they compress it into a pipeline, which they send to these areas where they'll actually implant it in the ground. So basically they store carbon dioxide gas in the ground so that way it's not emitted into the atmosphere and doesn't cause air pollution. And it's, as far-fetched as it kind of sounds, it's actually been proven to be both safe and environmentally friendly. So it's a good option for China until they can shift from coal to cleaner energies in their production. Also, because the U.S. is involved, it pressures China to actually change their behavior.
Right.
Because it's not just them involved in this.
Well, I thank you for that information.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. This has been brought to you exclusively by Strong Geography Network News. Thank you and good night.